After the tassels turned.
Written by Elton Lee Lawell.
I suppose it stems from my childhood. I mean, at an early age, I developed a stutter, and it persisted until I was 17. But I was able to overcome it, and haven't had an issue since. But that's not to say that it came as an easy feat. I mean, I was constantly being harassed and bullied by a lot of the guys, especially when it came to trying to impress the ladies. I distinctly recall a time where I had finally built up the courage to ask out Danielle Maynor, the runner-up for the 1987 District Regional High School Beauty Pageant. I personally believed she should have won. Anyway, she was aiding her grease monkey of a friend Andrew pass out flyers for the upcoming Juniors Rally Day Parade to support the funding for a possible upcoming auditorium remodel and expansion at the school. I remember that she was giving my friend Henry a flyer and was walking my way. I was leaning against my 72 Nova Super Sport, and its big block engine was idling like a champ. I, with a Camel cigarette burning in my lips, was thinking I was the coolest guy in the parking lot, and I was going to do this. I was going to ask her and do it now. But just as I saw the opportunity in the middle of the small talk to ask her out, Big Gerald Resner, the center position for the ever-loved Western Mayfield Red Quails football team, came up from behind my car and crushed out a cigarette on my side mirror while saying, "Oh, look, 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 it's stuttering Steve Wallace. Does him have a chubby nubby for Danny Annie?" I wanted to beat him up, but I was merely 168 pounds, and he was twice my size. I was so embarrassed, I just drove away. I never got a chance to ask Danielle out again, or any other woman for that matter, which is why I'm single to this day. But the memory of Gerald Resner making me feel like a chump will forever haunt me. And the sad thing is, I'm not sure if that memory is more haunting or the memory of what happened the next year, the night after graduation. You see, after the embarrassing incident in front of Danielle in the parking lot junior year had happened, I made up my mind that although I was a smaller guy, I had an equalizer that could level the playing field. My 72 Super Sport. It may be a smaller built muscle car, but it had muscle. And with its 454 Wildcat engine screaming and its shifter slapping through the gears of its standard transmission, with its 15-inch 60s deep well tires and Krager rims burning up the asphalt, I had all the muscle I needed, and nothing was going to stop me from obtaining my sweet, sweet revenge. I remember the first night I started stalking Gerald. He was hanging out with some teammates at the local pig. I was parked across the road at the Greyhound station, anticipating a little mischievous fun at the expense of Gerald. I watched until it was just him left in the parking lot. That's when I started up the old Nova and crept my way across the street into the parking lot, and when I got close enough to blind Gerald with the high beams, He began pulling the typical tough guy act, and I let him think it worked. I let him think I got scared, and as I drove away, I flipped him the bird. But that was just night one. As the summer grew on, I would wait patiently for the perfect time to interrogate and harass Gerald. I picked nights at random to ride around and look for him on the town. Some nights would be a bust, but other nights were well worth the wait, as I intentionally found new and thrilling ways to scare the absolute shit out of him. It just so happened that one night Gerald and Frank Gowler, the quarterback, were yet again at the pig parking lot drinking alcohol, and Danielle Maynard was there. She was making out with Frank. It was around mid-fall of senior year when Danny and Frank had began dating. I'm not sure why. I suppose that they were celebrating our high school state championship victory that night, and although I was eager to get my kicks on with Gerald, I decided to play nice. I eased up next to Frank's brand new '88 Chevy K10, and you should have saw the looks on their faces. They seemed surprised as I congratulated them on the win. But as for Gerald, he was steaming. Actually, he was pissed. Like a raging bull, he came running full force, tackling me to the pavement just as I stepped out of my car. Boy, did I mess up there. I mean, Gerald beat the living hell out of me, and while I laid there beaten and battered, the drunk asshole hopped into my car and tried driving away. The stupid idiot didn't realize that it was a standard slap shift and managed to strip the gears plumb out of my gear housing. Needless to say, I spent the rest of the school year sorely earning money to buy a new transmission. I made it a point to let a few of my school peers know that I was coming after Gerald, and that this time I had his number. The gig was up. His days of mocking, ridiculing, and destroying me and my stuff were over for good. Oh yeah, I couldn't wait for the gossip and the rumors to spread, and spread they did, and before I knew it, Gerald was on high alert. I felt like I was on top of the world, and I knew I had to keep it that way. So first, Andrew was called to receive his diploma, followed later by my friend Henry. Then soon after, Frank. Then myself. A time later, Danielle. And at some later point, Gerald was called to receive his diploma. Afterward, as we all stood there on the football field in our caps and gowns, waiting to transition our tassels from one side to the other, I walked up behind Gerald and whispered into his ear, "Enjoy this night, Gerald." He heard me, but probably thought I was Frank or one of the other guys. That night, after graduation, there was a large field party at Andrew's uncle's corn farm. Anyone who graduated was invited. It was sort of a bon voyage moment for everyone except me. I was busy. I was staying home to clean and polish the Nova inside and out. And I had her looking good too. Her true blue paint glistening beneath the street light, her black leather interior reflecting the dash lights, and all of her chrome without a smudge in sight. After I had the car cleaned, I decided to drive around all night. When the sun had come up, I found myself sitting at the edge of town at a 76 gas station. It was time to make good on my word and call up Gerald's number. But first I used the payphone to call home and tell my parents that I wouldn't be home for a while, that I loved them and would keep in touch when I could. Then I called Henry and told him that if anything were to happen to where I wouldn't see him again, that he was always a good friend, that I loved him, and that I would be dropping my Nova off at the pig parking lot once I did what I had to do, and that it was now his to cherish. Then I hung up the phone on the hook and drove myself into the country. I was excited, and quite frankly, a bit overzealous as I pulled up to the gate of the corn farm. The gate was open, so I crept through, and there, passed out, with a slaw burger in one hand and a hot beer in the other, laid the fat-ass slob, who was about to be remembered by few and forgotten by many. I sat there, the horses just idling, as the super sport shimmied like it was part of my nervous system. I was waiting for the fat bastard to wake up so he could see it coming. It was nearly dark, and I was getting anxious. And just as the sun had hid itself beneath the horizon, I saw movement. Gerald was stirring. This was it. It was finally time. I slapped the car into neutral and laid on the gas. Gerald heard the engine revving and opened his eyes, and no sooner than he did, I slapped the shifter into second, and with everything I had, and with my foot leaded on the gas pedal, I was doing it. I had the headlights on dim, in high hopes that the last thing Gerald would see was my face behind the steering wheel of that 72 Nova as the grill met his face. And well, Doc, that's exactly what happened. No more Gerald, no more stuttering Stephen Wallace, and when the cops showed up at the pig, no more Nova, just my cellmates and the occasional visitation with you. But it's okay, Doc. You see, I overcame. I did it, and I'm proud to say I'll never forget what it was like. Are we finished with this session? Can I go back to my cell now?